another year, another distro, another time, and happy to say that Debian, or Debian for those that get annoyed, 12 Bookworm has come out as of a couple of days ago. And what's really awesome about Bookworm is got quite a couple of new updates and added to it, and is considered one of Debian's better releases in the last couple of years. Some of the updates, of course, include they've updated 67% of all the packages since their previous release, and they have introduced quite a couple of smiley changes for the 32-bit PC users. You have to have a processor that's an i686 compatible or higher up. So anything that's an i586 isn't going to run, and we're talking about machines that are 20 plus years old, so it really shouldn't affect anyone. If for some reason you are affected, then just stay with the previous version of the OS. So as always, great support. 9 architectures have been supported for Bookworm. One of them, of course, is ARM64, and of course the normal 32-bit and 64-bit i386s and AMD64 architectures. So today we're going to go through the install of a Debian 12, and in this case I'm just going to do it in ARM64, although the installation is exactly the same no matter whether if it was on a normal PC as well. So in this case I'm going to use UTM, I'm going to go virtualize, I'm going to go Linux, I'm going to browse for my ISO, which is over here. I downloaded the full DVD ISO of the OS, and important to remember that unlike in the past, the restricted software, or should I say software that needed proprietary drivers, it was a separate ISO image you would have to download. Now it's in one image, and the system will automatically provide those options if it's available and often needed for hardware to work. I'm just going to give this 4 gigs of memory, 4 CPU cores, 8 gigs of memory, and 64 gigs of storage space. And I'm going to save it, and we're going to start it up over here. So give that a couple of seconds to start. And it was important, you've got the normal install or graphical install. I'm going to go with the graphical install these days just to show it off. It's been polished over the years. So here it is, Debian 12, English, US, that's fine, American English, of course just the normal pre-selected stuff while we load the additional components, and of course just sorting out the IP stuff. Again, as I've already mentioned, if you download the correct image for your PC, it'll be the same installation process, so that's fine. Let's give us a root password, let's give it something strong, something no one will ever guess, and a user account, username, and password again, let's confirm, and I'll just use Pacific time zone, because why not. What is nice in the partitioner, of course, you guide it, use entire disk, set up LVM, encrypted LVM, it's just going to guide it entire disk, picks up our disk, and of course now it gives you the option to separate your home partition from your root or your var and temp partitions. If you're a new user, keeping it in one is fine, but it's generally a good idea to have a separate home partition. So if you need to install your workstation or you change Linux distros often, you don't have to worry about your home located files. For this, I'm just going to make it easy and do it all in one, and say continue. Let's write the changes to the disk and get the base system installed. Nice thing, of course, Debian 12 will be supported for the next 5 years, and Debian, of course, is often the base of other distros one of the most famous, of course, is Ubuntu, and a lot of other distros often rebase themselves on it as well. Couple of important things to know if you're doing upgrades. One of the important things, and I'll link to this as well, is the chapter 5 of the documentation, which is about issues. I'll talk about that now. Do I wish to scan any more media? No. Network mirror, yes. Yeah, let's do a network mirror. I'll just do the defaults here. And let it scan apt. So, a couple of important callouts to know is grub no longer runs OS Probe by default. So, if you have a dual boot machine and if your other OS is installed by default, grub isn't going to detect the other OSs. So you'll have to rerun grub with OS Prober setting to false, and you'll just have to run it. I'll link to that as well. Unfortunately, GNOME has reduced accessibility support for screen readers, and that's because of moving from GTAK3 to GTAK4. So some apps are less usable with screen readers, such as Orca. The recommendation by Debian team is to move over to Mate. So these are some couple of not necessarily major roadblocks, but can surprise a couple of users as well. Including MariaDB doesn't show the package names, don't include version numbers anymore. It just has just the package name, so just something to watch out if you are upgrading MariaDB. Popularity contest. So this is statistics. So do we want to give the developer statistics? I'm going to say no. And default, of course, standard utilities, SSH, so we can connect to it remotely, and we can just select a default desktop environment. I think I'm going to, well, I said save Mate earlier, so I'll just do mate or Mate and let that retrieve the files and do what it needs to do. And what I'll do in the meantime is, while this starts to install itself, I'll pause and come back. Okay, that was quick, and I took about a minute, and let's do a reboot quickly. So just say continue. And I just need to clear it here and take the OS and give it a bit of a reboot again. So just shut it down and start it up again. And wait a few seconds and it should boot up correctly. Here we go, regular Debian screen. Debian. And give that a few moments to log in. So let's type in our username and our strong password. And here we go. Normal vanilla screen using Mate 1.26 and a normal desktop environment provided from Mate, so the additional software, etc. So let's check kernel 6.109 and our disk usage, really not much at all. We've only really used in total about just over 4 gigs, which is pretty nice. And let's just do system monitor. Again, confirming the version we've installed and processors running, CPU hardly running anything and only using about 600 megs of memory, really nothing there. So great and simple to use as always. And yeah, still making use of Synaptic to install packages, if you so be it, or to apply updates. So let's open up a terminal. change to root. And do an apt update. Cool. And if we want to install some software, let's just, for example, do gedit. Okay, yes, right. I've got this open in front, so I should close that. And let's just install it here. And here we go. Stupidly quick, stupidly install. Freaking awesome as always. See, it also comes with Firefox ESR. And yep, running perfectly. It's just a dark thing here. And if we need to do things here, we can just go to look and feel, appearance, and choose a darker thing. And here we go. So really there's so much more to it, but from a normal everyday user standpoint, for install, this is great OS to use, especially if you don't want some of the extra stuff that something like Ubuntu puts around it. And again, as always, of course, this supports app images, Flatpaks. Just enable it if you want to use snap packages. For whatever reason, you can install it here as well. So yeah, and if you want a strong, solid distro, you can't go wrong with Debian, as always. And these days you can go use Flatpaks if you want some slightly newer software. But yeah, from an everyday standpoint, really easy to install these days. You don't even have to worry about using the command line like the old, and you can just install whatever software or interfaces you want on top of it. So boring distro, but in a very good way, in the way it's meant to be. I myself, for example, will just keep my installation for when I need to do whatever I need to do on ARM, and probably move my Ubuntu server to a Debian server at some point. Okay folks, as always, that's all for now, and as always, thanks for watching.